Hey everybody, I'm Canadian Operator, and this is a pair of Decibel Defense earmuffs. These are just plain old earmuffs, but they're actually really good. They are very inexpensive, and they're also very comfortable, whether you're a sunglasses person, a hat person, or both, or neither. I've been using these for the last maybe month or so, maybe month and a half, and I've been using them in a variety of different environments, both indoor and outdoor ranges, and firing a variety of different calibers. And I think I've gotten enough experience to put a little review together and let you know what I think about these and whether they're worth your money. Now, that being said, if you are interested in picking up a pair of these for yourself at the end of the video, I do have a link down below in the description. That's my Amazon affiliate link, and it does help the channel out if you use that link to purchase this. It doesn't cost you anything extra, but it does help to support the channel, so please consider using that link if you would like to pick up a pair of these for yourself. All right, let's go ahead and get started with the review. All right, so let's go ahead and start with a conversation about ergonomics and comfort. And before we even get into that, let's just talk about the size of this when it's just kind of folded up here. As you can see, you can kind of fold it right into the headband here. And this is kind of nice because this makes it very compact and very easy to travel along with you. You can throw this in your backpack, your gun bag, your gun case, whatever. And I'm sure that's not going to be taking up too much space. In fact, I can just kind of hold it with my hand just like that, right? Granted, I've got pretty big hands, but yeah, it's not too big. What I do like is that it folds out nicely here. We've got a couple of forks over here on either side, which will compress and decompress. So again, of course, same on the other side. The only thing that I kind of don't like about this design is that it kind of tends to move around quite a bit. Now, it doesn't move around like that when you've got it on your head, which you'll see in a bit. But yeah, when you're just kind of taking it out and you're ready to put it on, it does kind of feel a little fiddly. So yeah, kind of a small gripe there. But overall, the comfort on these is actually really good. So let's go ahead and put them on. I like to just kind of stick my hands under here and pull these all the way out. Now, your mileage may vary. You may have a smaller head or a bigger head than mine. I don't know if it gets much bigger than my head. I got a pretty big head, and I've also got pretty big ears. And we'll definitely get talking about sort of the sizing on the inside here so you can kind of figure out if it's going to work for you. Let's go ahead and put this on. And yeah, I like to kind of get the backs of my ears in there, and then once I've got that in there, these are on there. And what I notice is at this point, I didn't put it over the nub on the top of the hat. Sometimes I do, and even when I do that, it stays really nicely. I'm going to try to make sure that I lower my voice so that I'm not screaming, because these apparently have a 37 decibel noise reduction ratio, but we'll talk about that in a second. These are extremely comfortable. First of all, they're very light, so they don't feel like they're taking up a lot of space, or they're not bogging your head down, so you're not going to have a lot of sort of head pain or neck pain or anything along the lines with this thing. It feels very comfy, it feels very light, and to be honest, after a little bit of shooting, you just kind of forget that they're there, which is really nice. Also, the padding on the inside of the ear cups as well as on the inside of the headband is pretty nice as well. So let me take these off so that I'm not yelling at you, and let's take a look at that. First of all, the headband. We'll go ahead and collapse this again and just kind of show you what that headband looks like. So on the top there, we've got some nice cloth, and that feels pretty good. Now, I'm not 100% sure what the material is inside. I would hope that it's more than just some of the plastic that's kind of sticking out here. There's probably like a little metal band or something like that in there for rigidity, but I haven't taken it apart, so to be honest with you there, I'm not 100% sure about that. Generally, that's kind of par for the course. But again, I haven't seen inside, so I can't really tell you. I can just tell you kind of what I see here. So the material here is pretty nice. It's pretty soft, so it feels good, but it definitely has a bit of rigidity to it, which in a way I think I didn't like in the beginning, but I actually really like now, because when you're wearing these for a very long time, you don't want them to get deformed. You don't want them to kind of get bent out of shape, for lack of better words. And I feel like this actually is a really good compromise between softness and between rigidness. We've got about 2.5 inches from top to bottom here, and about 1.5 inches from left to right. I know that because I measured it, and I wanted to include it in this review so that you guys can get an understanding of, you know, whether this is going to be something that will fit your head. Overall, this is a pretty nice feel. Again, it's got a little bit of rigidity to it, but it does feel nice. The foam on the inside there is just the right amount of give and hold, and I like that. Also on the inside, we've got about 1.5 inches to about 1.75 inches in depth. So I don't know if you're able to see that, but if I just kind of put my finger in there, I mean, it goes pretty deep in there. And there's a little bit of foam in there too, which is really nice. So if your ears kind of stick out a little bit, like mine do, then you're not going to really have to worry about that because you're not going to be touching anything uncomfortable in there. It's going to be nice and soft. Other than that, they're just earmuffs, right? So there's not too much else to talk about. Overall, the design is pretty solid. Like I said, I've been using them for about, I would say, a month and a half. They are, you know, pretty well built, strong plastic on the outside, and you've got some nice cloth here as well as some nice, I guess this kind of feels like vinyl. It's almost like a vinyl feeling material. And we've got some metal forks here with some plastic attachments holding everything together. Now, in terms of the noise reduction ratio, Decibel Defense claims that it's about 37 decibels. I can't confirm or deny that because I don't have the appropriate equipment here in the studio to actually measure that like I do for when I do my firearms videos, for example. I've got, you know, my trigger gauge and all this kind of stuff. But that being said, I'm very happy to report to you that I have had absolutely no issues with this. Now, I do run some inners most of the time when I'm on the range as well. In fact, I'm not sure if you're able to see them, but they're kind of just behind me there. They're these just little orange ones. They have about 26 to 28 decibels of noise reduction ratio on them, which is pretty good. But them by itself are not that great. And not because they don't block the noise, but because you've got little bones inside your sort of ear here. And those are what are helping you to hear things, right? Those little bones, there's vibrations that happen in there, and then that's picked up, and then that's translated in your brain into audio and what you're hearing. So you want to be able to protect not just your hearing from a noise perspective, but a shock wave and a pressure wave perspective as well. That's really important because there's a lot of firearms out there that have, for example, muzzle brakes, or just they produce a tremendous amount of force when those gases leave the barrel, and that travels outward as a shock wave. And if you're only using inners, then yeah, you might be protecting your ears from just the sound aspect of things, but not necessarily the shock wave. And the shock wave can also impact your ability to hear, especially when this is something that you're doing quite often, right? So being able to protect your ears with something like this is very important. And so that's why I tend to wear both. Now, there's an argument as to, you know, should I have electronic ones? Should I have non-electronic ones? I'm a little bit old school, so if you ask me, I would tell you just get the non-electronic ones. These are dirt cheap. You could probably afford to get like 2 of these, one for yourself, one for your spouse, and maybe even just 1 or 2 for a spare, just in case, or maybe just for some friends if you want to bring some friends to the range as guests, whatever. They're literally so cheap compared to the electronic ones. And, you know, I had a bit of a conversation with my friend. I say conversation because it was more of a heated debate. But we had a conversation about sort of the difference between these and the electronic ones, and should I get this one or should I get that one? And, you know, my argument with him was just, well, if I'm going to the range and I need hearing protection, then my #1 priority is to protect my ears, right? And yeah, it's nice to be able to communicate and be able to hear other people and stuff like that, and electronic earmuffs are great for that, but I'm a no-frills kind of guy. I want to focus on one product that does one thing really, really well, as opposed to one product that has numerous features and it does numerous things well or just okay. So this is kind of a belief that I have, a philosophy that I have in life about a variety of different things, not just earmuffs. And so I think that's something that is designed specifically and explicitly for the purpose of protecting your hearing, not just from sound, but from the shock waves as well that inevitably you're going to hear and feel at the range or anywhere else you discharge firearms. This is honestly an absolute smash. It's like, for the money, you really can't go wrong. Now again, I think that there's definitely some positives to electronic earmuffs, and if that's something that's going to help you, then by all means, you know, spend the $200, $300, $500, $1,000 that it's going to cost you to get those. But this is going to be at a fraction of that price, probably about an eighth, maybe less, depending on what you're comparing it to. And it's totally going to do the job for you. Even if you don't want to use inners, it's still going to do the job for you. So I like it also just because it's compact enough for me to be able to travel light. For me, that's really important because, interestingly enough, I don't drive. And so for me, I'm always taking Ubers, I'm always on public transit, and being able to travel light and not have, you know, to be weighed down by batteries and electronics and just bigger and more cumbersome products, that's a big thing for me as well. So That being said, my conclusion on this is if you don't already have a really nice pair, these Decibel Defense are actually really, really good. Again, I've been using them for about a month and a half. I've had no issues. I've been kind of rough with them as well. Usually I take a lot better care of my stuff, but you know, this was pretty cheap, so I can kind of afford to not baby it so much. But it's done a great job for me, and it's just been a very long time coming trying to get my own pair, because I used to have to borrow all the time. I used to have only my inners, which kind of sucked. I was afraid that my hearing was getting damaged with just using the inners. So yeah, in any case, I would totally recommend these if you're looking for a pair. Maybe if you want to buy one as a friend, they're pretty good for gifts and stuff as well, because again, they're just so cheap, right? The only thing that I want to mention about these specifically is if you're getting them on Amazon, you might end up waiting about an extra maybe 1 to 3 days or so, because I do believe that these are coming from overseas. So depending on where you're ordering from, that kind of might be a thing for you. If you want them like today or tomorrow and you want to get that prime shipping or whatever, you know, you might not be able to get these as quick. But that being said, if you're patient, you don't mind waiting a few extra days, these are so worth it. They are so much better than that crap you get at the hardware store. And trust me, I've used those too, because I used to borrow them all the time when I went to the range. And yeah, they're just nice to have. So that being said, once again, I'll leave that link down in the description below. If you'd like to help to support the channel, it won't cost you anything extra. Just use that link to pick these up, and we're going to get a little bit small, tiny little kickback for that, which will help us to be able to invest in the channel a little bit more. That being said, if you haven't already subscribed, please do so. Make sure to ring the bell and share the video with your friends, and leave us a like if you found this video helpful. It really does help the channel grow and allows us to put these types of videos in front of more folks to hopefully help them make better buying decisions when it comes to firearms gear. Thank you so very much for watching. Again, hope this has been helpful, and I'm sure I'll see you in the next one. Until then, happy shooting.